on Richmond Independent Radio 97.3 FM. And I am Lisa Linnell, your host. And here on Richmond Business Babes, we are celebrating successful women all over the RVA, women who are making money doing what they love, loving what they do, owning and operating their own small businesses. And this is a great show that we've got lined up. It's called Safety First, Women Protecting Other Women. And first up, we are going to meet Denida Grow. She is actually a return guest. She was on the show on September 11th, and she has agreed to come back. She is an international security expert and founder of the Nanny Guard, which is a security company training nannies to be more in self-defense and protecting their charges. And then at the bottom of the hour, we are going to meet with Kelly Sayre. She is a threat assessment professional and founder of the Diamond Arrow Group and author of Sharp Women. And actually, Denida Grow and Kelly Sayre have worked together from time to time. So it's going to be a very interesting show. And I believe Denida is waiting in the wings for us. All right. Well, let me give you a proper introduction, Denida. So she is, first of all, trilingual. Born, I believe, in Albania. She's going to tell me if that's correct. Grew up in Greece and then came to America. She has 2 decades of experience with executive protection, security consultation, internationally in India, Greece, America, France, Italy, and Albania. She has been an instructor with different security training academies and now is the owner of 2 businesses, Le Marchal, which I believe she owns with her husband, Chris Grow, and then the Nanny Guard. So I'm so happy that you agreed to come back to Richmond Business Babes. Denida Grow, welcome. Can't hear her, Ron. Just a minute, Denida. We can't hear you. We're not getting the audio. Did you accidentally mute there, Denida? No. She might have to, should she reboot or? Okay. Okay. Well, while Ron is getting that straightened out, let me just say that if you like our show and want to hear past shows, you can always go to richmondbusinessbabes.com, and we have our podcasts there. So that's a great way to catch up on past shows. One other thing that I wanted to mention is that Denida Grow and our guest later on in the show, Kelly Sayre, they're both outside of Richmond. They're on the West Coast. So, and they actually are affiliated with each other with different jobs and consulting that they've done together. So their paths have crossed many times. And while we're waiting for that, what I wanted to mention is a couple of weeks ago, I went to Green Top Sporting Goods, which you may or may not know about. It's very similar to Bass Pro and Cabela's. And they had a big festival there. And as I was walking through all the booths, there were guns, there were fishing poles, there were dog trainers, there was barbecue. It was like being at the state fair almost, except for there were no rides, I don't think. But as I was walking through the booths, I encountered a very interesting group, which I would like to have on. And she's calling on the yeah. Okay, so I think Denida is going to be doing the audio instead of live stream. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me, Denida? Okay, great. And can you turn up that volume so we can hear her as well? Yeah, great. Thanks for your patience there, Denida. So, yeah, you didn't get to where you are by not being persistent, of course. So, thank you, first of all, for coming back on the show. You were here on September 11th, and we were talking all about security. And you said something that just so surprised me. So, I would like to start there with how, as a child, because I remember asking you the question, did you just wake up one morning as a child and say, hey, I want to be a security expert? And then you told me the story of how it all began. So I want to start there. But before you answer that question, tell our audience here on Richmond Business Babes in a sentence or two what Nanny Guard is and what Le Marchal, your other company, is.
First of all, thank you so much for the second invitation. It was a pleasure to be here last time, and I'm looking forward to this one today. So regarding Nanny Guard is a company that I created back in 2009, and what we do is we teach nannies and childcare providers security mindset. We teach them skills that has to do with security. So when you hire a nanny, she's not only responsible for educating and taking care of your child, but also protecting your child. Think a little bit of like bodyguards for kids.
Right.
And Nanny Guard has been very successful with celebrity families, with high net worth families, and families who are in need for that extra layer of security. Le Marchal, on the other hand, is a company that I created with my husband when I moved permanently in the States 6 years ago. And we are a boutique risk management company. We are based in Seattle.
Say that again, a boutique risk management. What does that mean exactly?
Well, we cater more with the customer service mindset toward the clients because we deal with very selective clientele, C-suite executives, families that are not so much in the public eyes, and they want a different level of services. Okay. More in a confidential way, more professional, more basically we call ourselves we are butlers with security training. Oh. Concierge with security training.
Okay, I see. Very good. Okay, I didn't realize that on the previous show for some reason. That kind of escaped me, but thank you. So now that we know what your two companies do, walk us down your career path and start us with that childhood moment that really directed your life's calling.
So I was born in Albania in 1982. When I was 9 years old, my family decided to immigrate. I remember the communism era because I was old enough to have that kind of memory. So I remember that. I went through that, really bad things. We moved to Greece, and I lived in Greece for 29 years. Again, very immigrants, very poor. Our parents were trying so hard to provide the most basics that we needed. And sometimes I didn't have money to even buy a bus ticket, and I had to walk a lot. And in one of those walks, I was at the age of 16, I got attacked. And I was very bad abused and beaten up. And it was the moment that I realized that another human being can decide if I'm going to be alive or not in the next 2 seconds. That fear that your life or your body doesn't belong to you anymore. Somebody else has a say on it. I survived. I survived it, and it made me to want to learn more about protecting myself. So I started doing martial arts. And later on, as I was doing martial arts and I'm reading this martial arts magazine, I see this ad for a bodyguard school. And I called them and I said, do you accept women? And they said, we do. And at the age of 20, I went through a bodyguarding school and I started my career as a bodyguard.
Yeah, that and when you told me that on the previous show that you were attacked at 16 and that changed your whole mindset, that is, first of all, obviously so sorry that happened, but that is a very powerful mindset that you came to, where in a minute something can change and you want to be able to defend yourself. So that has led you down the career path that you're on now, and it's one that's a blessing to so many people. Um, so you became a bodyguard. Now you're still in Greece at that point.
I'm still in Greece at that point, and I finished school, the bodyguarding school. It was a joint Israeli-Greek school. I was the only female, and they told me they never had a female before, so I was the only female. They wanted to help. They were excited that they have a female in their class and graduate, and they were excited. They wanted to help me, but they didn't know how to help me because female female bodyguards back then in Greece were something so non-existent. So
Hmm.
they didn't know how to present me to the client.
Hmm. And then what happened?
So I was trying to find a job because I was trying to start building my experience, and nobody was hiring me, even for security jobs, security guard jobs. So I was trying really hard to find jobs, and sometimes I had to take odd jobs like security guard slash janitor.
Yeah, I remember
Uh,
you said that. Yeah, yeah.
I tell people if there is a sub-zero, I probably started my career from
That's right.
from that.
And let me
Um,
interrupt here for a moment, Denida Grow, owner of Nanny Guard and Le Marchal. Um, wh- uh, Describe your appearance. Are you because when most people think of bodyguards, they think of big burly men, right? So, how tall are you? Are you a larger woman, or are you petite? What is your describe what you look like at that age?
So I was very petite at that age. My height is 5'4". I haven't changed. My weight back then was 48 kilos. I think in pounds that would be 130, 140.
Okay. Okay.
So I
So,
was tiny, and I remember when I was going into interviews to do interviews with different magazines, local magazines, and or TV stations. People actually were putting bets on how I look, and they were so disappointed when I showed up.
pre-internet, right? Or yeah. Um, so basically you were not an imposing figure
No,
physically.
no, not an
Okay.
imposing figure. I
Yeah.
was very tiny,
Okay.
and that's something that I wanted later on with my first company, Athena Worldwide, is that I wanted to prepare women for this kind of work and tell them that you can be feminine and strong and smart to protect others. You don't have to sacrifice your feminine side and try and look, more tough or more badass
Mhm.
in order to be in this profession.
Mhm. Mhm. So you got your first security guard job, security guard slash janitor, and then what happened?
So I was those kind of jobs because again, women were something non-existent in the industry. Were on and off, so I had to take other jobs to pay my bills and survive, literally. And sometimes I had to. This is funny. So I was asking for a work. Hey, do you have a job for me? And they were saying, no, we don't. And then I said, so how about I come and work for you for free? Oh, suddenly they had a position open. But
Right.
to me, I had to take a second job to pay my bills. But that free job that I was doing for them, it gave me the opportunity to put my foot on the door and to gain the experience that I needed to move
Yes.
forward.
Yes. Did you ever, at that younger age in your 20s, as you were starting out and hitting so many roadblocks, did you ever say to yourself, you know what, maybe I should take a different path? What kept you persistent along that path?
Many times I was ready to give up because life is hard. And when you're an immigrant, life is even harder sometimes because you don't have the same opportunity, especially in a country in Greece. So I had to make sure that there is food on the table. I had to make sure that I can support my family when my parents, for some reason, are out of work. And there have been many times then I wanted to give up. And again, there was that kind of thing inside me, investing and everything. I guess my life is everything is about security.
Hmm.
So there is that thing in the back of my head, and I sometimes even today I tell my husband I'm so tired of the industry, I want to give up, and he's like, you can't. That's who you are.
Yeah. So now, what was your big break, so to speak?
My big break was with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the time I moved to the States in November 2019. And of course, we had the elections and everybody was going crazy about that. And then we had COVID. And that is when everything paused for me because clients weren't traveling anymore. Business wasn't being done anymore. A lot of companies lost clients. So that was a big, a break for me. But I think it helped me to say, okay, what we do moving on? Apparently, I can't do this anymore. I'm 40 at that age. At that time, I'm 40 years old. There's an ageism in our industry. I need to pivot a little bit, and what else can I do? So we created the company with my husband, and I do consultancy, and I do management, but I'm not the agent on the ground anymore.
Right, right. So when did you marry Chris Grow, your husband? When was that?
So we got married in August 2019.
Okay. And was he also in the security field as well? Is that how you met?
Yes. So Chris has served with the Marine Corps. He has worked overseas. He brings 38 years of experience in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
He is my voice of reason in everything, even in the work, because I'm more spontaneous person. And I get on fire very quickly. He's the one who said, okay, let's calm down a little bit.
Dial it back, baby. Yeah. Dial it back. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I hear that in your voice and I like that energy very much. And if you've just tuned in, by the way, you are listening to Richmond Business Babes. I am your host, Lisa Linnell. We are on WRWK 93.9 FM, The Work, and also now syndicated as an encore presentation on WRIR, Richmond Independent Radio. And we are interviewing Denida Grow. She is an international security expert. And what intrigued me about her is her company, Nanny Guard. Is it the Nanny Guard or just Nanny Guard?
Just Nanny Guard.
Nanny Guard. Okay. So Nanny Guard is a company that has high-end clients, whether they are celebrities or millionaires or billionaires who have nannies and want their nannies to be a cut above when it comes to security. So let's start with what the typical nanny is, and then what your Nanny Guard nannies have been trained to be. So describe a typical nanny that has no sort of security perspective.
So I would say a typical nanny is a nanny that is going to make sure your child is being fed and specific diet is being followed. They're being taken care of, babysitting, probably pick up from school or take to school. Education as well, very specific education. So nanny guards on the other staff, on the other hand, are all these things, but also there is a lot of security mindset. So our nanny guards are trained in how to provide a better safety when they are at home with the children, safety when they are outside, playgrounds, or they're taking them out to different activities. How to keep them safe during the trips, international trips. A lot of these families go on international trips. Our nanny guards know how to select safe spaces. They know how to run an advanced work. And advanced work is very important when we have to visit different places or have to take different trips. It's really interesting because I have seen some of those essays from our nanny guards, and they are so much in detail and so much more professional than bodyguards who are working out there and they have a huge career. So I'm very, very happy for these women that we train and how, what they have achieved. And they work for some of the biggest clients. So they have a great career behind them.
Yes, absolutely. And in a minute, we are going to have Kelly Sayre, who has partnered with you on different projects, I believe. That's, I think, how I found Kelly. She'll be coming on in a minute, and together you can talk, more about situational awareness, which I know she is an expert in. And by the way, the remarkable Ron, my producer, have you sent Kelly Sayre the link? You have. Okay, great. So, Denida Grow of the Nanny Guard, give us like a day in the life of a nanny. So the nanny is picking a child up from, I'm assuming, a private school. What is she doing that's different than any other nanny who would be picking a child up from school? How is your training making her different?
So we're going to have Kelly later on, and Kelly is one of our instructors. She teaches situational awareness.
Uh-huh.
Situational awareness is, I say, the alpha and omega in our work. Some people are not trained; they're not aware of what signs to pay attention and what to look for. So our nannies are trained in situational awareness. So they're looking for behaviors or people or places that can be a potential threat to the children, and they have to mitigate the risk. They know how to work better with security teams if the client has a security team in place. They know how to pay attention if they are being followed. If the client is a celebrity family, they will be followed by paparazzi, for example, or they may be followed by different criminal people or teams. So they are on the lookout for things. I am being followed. Does anything look suspicious? And a lot of things that have to do with who may want to warn the child, because let's not forget, these children are the most valuable assets that anyone has. And there are so many families that are being targeted, and the news don't hit the news. The incidents don't hit the news because it's a very sensitive case, and the families never report them. But we know because we are in the business.
Yes.
So the children are being very, very much targeted.
Yes. Now, do you train your nannies to have guns as well? Is there weapon training?
We do not train the nannies in firearms training because a lot of families they don't feel comfortable knowing that their nanny is carrying around their child. Now, if they have a security team with them, working with them, a bodyguard team, their team is carrying, but they do not want the nanny to carry them.
Okay.
We had, from 16 years that I have been doing this, we had only one family that actually requested the nanny to be taught in firearms. Was a family of parents that they were diplomats, so they had a different kind of threat level, and they were always also more how to say, they were used to security teams.
Yeah. Okay. Now, and Kelly is waiting in the wings, but I have a few more questions to ask you before we bring Kelly on. So break it out here. How are the customers finding you? I'm assuming it's primarily word of mouth. I mean, I would think that they have in their society circle, other, friends or associates who have used you and then they refer you. Is that typically how it happens?
That is one way. We are very blessed to have created a great name in the industry. So when people think about child protection services, they automatically think of Nanny Guard. And there is no other company. We started this. There is no other company doing this. Actually, there are some people that are copying us now. But when we started this, we were the only one doing this. So we have created a good name, and we have clients either finding us from different media articles or interviews, or from our website. And we have a lot of clients coming to us that they had their security team, someone from the security team, suggesting us, hey, we need to have our nanny trained by nanny guards because we know them and we know their work.
Okay. And then what is the rate that you charge based on? And are most of the nannies already being the family's nanny, and then the family brings them to you and says, hey, we love this nanny, but we want them to have that extra level of training? Or are people coming to you and saying, I want to be trained by you so that I can present this additional level of skill set to my future clients? What is it, half and half, or?
So it works in three ways. We have nannies who come to us and they want to take that extra skill set that's going to help them
Mm-hmm.
to attract better jobs,
Mm-hmm.
better paying jobs. We have nanny agencies who would like to send the nannies that they're employed to our
Okay.
training program.
Okay.
And then we have clients that they're employing nannies already and they want their nannies to be trained by us. So it works in different ways.
Uh-huh.
The third one, when we have a client telling us, okay, I'm employing two nannies, I want them to be trained by you, we actually go and do the training on the client side. So that is more customized training based on the client's needs.
Okay. So I'm assuming there's different fee levels that you would charge, where if a nanny's coming to you on her own saying, train me, versus the client saying to you, come live with us for a week and teach my nannies. So,
Absolutely. It's a different level. Yeah.
okay. So do you feel comfortable talking about your fees? I'm curious. What,
Well, the fees, the only thing I can talk about is that the fees that we charge the nannies, if a nanny is listening to us and she would like to take our training,
mm-hmm,
it's $1,300. That's
mm-hmm.
the fees at the moment for our Nanny Guards program.
And is that a
When we
week
have
long?
nanny agencies,
How long is that? A week? 2 weeks?
that is 3 days. That is a 3
3 days.
days class.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, we make sure because people tend to receive and learn information a different way and different ways. We make sure that the nanny has understood very well what she learned. If she needs more time, we make sure to add that extra day, 1 or 2 days, if needed be.
Okay.
So that's what we do at the moment if a nanny is coming to us. If we have an agency that they would like to bring a group of nannies, there we're going to offer a discount.
Okay.
And if we have a client, then we're talking for much higher rate because now I'm traveling to you and I'm spending more time and making a customized training.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, what an exciting life you lead, and what a fantastic service you provide, Denida Grow of the Nanny Guard. Um, Before we bring on Kelly, who is one of your instructors, Kelly Sayre, just tell us what do you find most gratifying about what you do?
Um, Making the world safer in my own way.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's working with specific clients and somebody would say, well, rich people, what do they need? They have so much. Well, I wanted to serve my country. I couldn't. I wanted to serve the country. I was an immigrant. I couldn't because I didn't have citizenship, so I couldn't join the military or law enforcement then. And this was going into the private sector was my only way of protecting others, of serving others.
I think it's wonderful. And it's super creative. Like you said, you were an innovator there was no field. You were the field. And now people are coming into the field, other companies, copycats. But yeah, so now thank you. If you can stay on the line with us, because I'd really like to have a little interaction with you and Kelly, if you're able to stay for a moment.
Absolutely.
Oh, good. All right. So before I bring on Kelly, let me give her a proper introduction and also let our audience know you are listening to Richmond Business Babes here on WRWK 93.9 FM, The Work, also on WRIR, now being syndicated on 97.3 FM. As an encore presentation, I am your host, Lisa Linnell, and with me is the remarkable Ron, my producer, and we are about to bring on, because this show is all about safety first, women protecting other women. So we are about to bring on Kelly Sayre. She is a threat assessment professional. She is the founder and owner of the Diamond Arrow Group, and she is also the author of Sharp Women. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about Kelly. She is an instructor. She works with also the guest who is on the show now, Denida Grow. And she is an expert in situational awareness. So welcome, Kelly Sayre.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited to get to connect with Denny, one of my favorite people in the whole world, and chat with your listeners.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for making the time to come on. And we were going to have you on September 11th, but I remember you had plane situations going on and it just didn't work out. Yeah. But walk us down your career path. You are a situational awareness expert primarily. Is that how you would describe yourself?
Yes, I would say that this is my only focus now. This is what I do for work, working with corporations and individuals on sharpening their situational awareness skills. But my background is actually hospitality and tourism. I was in restaurants and hotels for a large portion of my life. And the pivotal moment in my life where I did the change to this fascinating topic, it was back in 2016. I had taken a women's self-defense class for the first time. I don't have a military background. I don't have a law enforcement background. And, we spent the whole 4 hours focused on physical training skills, physical self-defense, which I am a big proponent of. I think all women should take physical skills and definitely work to build their functional fitness. But at the very end of class, the male instructor said, but ladies, let's be real. Predators don't go after prey that they think is going to be strong and fight back. They're going to pick the weaker ones. So the last thing you want to do is get into a fight, physical fight, because that person is probably going to be stronger than you. You need to be more situationally aware to avoid it in the first place. And then he said goodbye and sent us on our way. And my brain did the full stop. Like, wait a minute, hold up. We spent the entire time focused on the skills I'm supposed to avoid using, but the thing I'm supposed to use 99.9% of the time, we didn't talk about at all. What is situational awareness? And from that question, I kept searching for answers and couldn't come up with answers that I could relate to as a quote unquote civilian woman, as a everyday person. Yes, there was lots of trainings for law enforcement, lots of trainings for the military, lots of really cool tactical terms, lots of acronyms. And the more I dug in and tried to understand, okay, well, what does that mean actually? The more I went, oh, well, I do that every day in my life when I'm driving my car. I do that every day in my life when at the time I'm trying to verbally de-escalate my tiny toddlers who have zero emotional intelligence and, don't have complete verbal skills. So I'm verbally de-escalating, all the time in my own household. I'm reading nonverbals constantly, recognizing, oh, this is not going to go well. I can see they're starting to get frustrated, upset, whether that's with their sibling, whether that's with me, whether that's with whatever toy they're playing with. How can I quickly kind of deflect? How can I divert their attention so that we don't go into full down meltdown?
Right.
And so that's where it really came to, is I went, wait a minute. Some of my work had also been working with other women and helping them build confidence in themselves. And one thing when it comes to the business world was, negotiations. How do we have difficult conversations at work? How do we as females, deal with some of these microaggressions in the workforce and directly and clearly state our boundaries without feeling like, being too passive or being quote unquote rude. Well, being direct isn't rude. And someone else's reaction to your boundary enforcement doesn't mean anything except you probably needed that boundary in the first place.
Right.
So again, the more that I've dug into research, the more that I've connected with amazing people like Denida and her husband and other women in this space, we're like, well, wait, now this is common sense, but no one's ever explained it to us in a way we could relate to and understand.
Right, exactly. So the aha moment for you, Kelly Sayre, was in 2016.
Yeah.
How did you get to this point? Did you self-train? Did you find classes on situational awareness? What got you to the point where now you are the instructor? How did that occur?
That's a great question. The reason why I started training is because I would reach out to individuals in executive protection, in law enforcement, in the military saying, okay, I'm looking for this type of training, asking questions. And they'd say, yes, I have daughters, sisters, mothers, wives, girlfriends. I completely understand what you're talking about. And I'm like, great, where can I go get that training? And they'd say, there really isn't anything that civilians can take, especially females. And I was like, well, I use many words, but that's silly. And so that's where I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to start sharing what I learn on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook. Maybe somebody else, it'll help somebody else. And the more that I did that, the more people started connecting and saying, oh, yes, I do want to learn. Tell me more. Hey, you should talk to my daughter. She's going to go off to college this fall. Hey, can you talk to, my sister? She's going to go out and study abroad in a foreign country for a semester. And so there was this organic need that's been built. But unfortunately, yeah, it was basically going to people like Denida and saying, okay, you're an expert in what you do. Hey, this is what I'm working on. Can you kind of guide me, help me, review my work? In fact, the first time, Denny's gonna start laughing. The first time I reached out to Denida, I think we'd connected on LinkedIn. So in a professional stance, I asked to connect with her over the phone because I had written my book and I really wanted her to read it and to, give me a review of it. And we talked on the phone. It was the first time I'd heard her voice, and she was very direct, which I giggled and just loved. But she's like, listen, I will read this, but if I don't like it, I will not recommend it because I don't recommend poopy stuff, in other words. And I was like, I love you. And yes, please. That's exactly what I'm looking for, is truth and honesty. Yeah. And so now I'm happy to say that Denida's quote on my book is on the front cover. So because I was like, this is a little bit of like probably but I was like, I'm not putting a guy referral recommendation on the cover of my book. No, this book is
read us the quote. Go ahead and read it.
By women, and I wanted Denida on the front. So
read the quote. Go ahead.
Oh, read the quote. Yeah. Says, a must read for women who desire to take action and enhance their personal safety.
All right.
Succinct. But so that's really, and I mean, I wrote the book in 2022 is when it launched. And ever since then, it's been great because it gives people an opportunity to understand, well, what are you talking about? Because there's a lot of, we do situational awareness training and active threat training. And what I found, I'm like, great, can you tell me how do you teach? What do you teach? They're like, well, yes, when the threat's at the door, you got to run, hide, or fight. I'm like, no. I'm talking about recognizing someone's on, their behaviors are potentially with ill intentions or inappropriate. How do you recognize that when it's the little test, the microaggressions, and able to call it out right away before emotions are high to de-escalate and to completely diffuse the situation? Because if it does continue to escalate, then you can articulate and say, well, I recognize this nonverbal. Mm-hmm. Maybe they were staring at me constantly, or they're always watching me and it makes me really uncomfortable. So I approached them and said, can I help you with something? Or, you seem to be, be looking at me a lot. Because if there's no ill intentions, oh my gosh, you look like my neighbor's daughter's cousin. So sorry for staring. That, then it diffuses it right away. If there are ill intentions where it's like, yeah, hey, I've been looking at you all night and I'd love to get your number, you right away then know what to say next. So I'm talking about all those gray areas where you need some discernment. Is it annoying or is it uncomfortable? Is it inappropriate or is it, just kind of a coincidence in the sense of, if it could be taken two ways, one of which is inappropriate, I meant it the other way. How do we find that out quickly and clearly
and protect yourself going forward? And I have a question for you, Kelly Sayre. Now, do you espouse arming women as well? Do you carry a gun?
So here's my take on all tools is I think everyone should choose what they feel comfortable with carrying whether that's a flashlight, which is my favorite tool to travel with because it can go with me anywhere, to, you know, if you want to carry a firearm, if you want to carry a machete, I don't care. But here's the thing, practice with it, get comfortable with it, and understand self-defense laws wherever you live. So there's like the whole knowledge piece around. So I'll never be prescriptive when it comes to self-defense because my comfort levels are going to be different than your comfort levels. So if I just go, hey, you know, I've just met you, Susan, and I think you should carry a firearm. And I don't know, maybe you have some past trauma around that. Maybe you've had some bad experiences. Maybe you have a perspective that is very different when it comes to that. Well, now I've just shut down all further conversation with you, and I probably won't have any more success helping Susan improve her personal safety.
Right. That's a good way to look at it. Now, Denida, when Kelly reached out to you on LinkedIn and said, you know, read my book, please. What were your thoughts initially? And then going forward, talk about how you collaborate, and she is an instructor of yours.
So I want to make sure that people understand that English is not my first language. And sometimes I'm using the words I know, simple words, to talk with people, to communicate. And sometimes it comes out as too harsh or too direct. Or
I love direct.
I know. Me too.
100%.
So I get a lot of people on my LinkedIn especially, and they say, hey, I wrote a book or an article. Can you have a look at it? Can you tell me, you know, your opinion? Sure, absolutely. I learn from you professionals as well. So I had the phone call with Kelly, and it went how Kelly described it. And I sit down, I read her book, and automatically to me, because we had the same experience. So I'm in the women in security. I have been attending so many self-defense classes, and all of these classes were dealing with the students, the female students. They're starting with, okay, now you are engaged in a fight. Well, I don't want to start my class as being engaged in a fight. How about you teach me how to avoid being engaged in a fight?
Yeah.
So when I read Kelly's book, I remember I turned to my husband and I said, finally, something put in simple words, in real practical examples for people who have no idea about security or situational awareness to actually understand it.
Yeah.
That's what I told Kelly. I said, thank you for putting it in simple words. And that's the book that I am suggesting to my daughters. I have 4 daughters. Even my mother-in-law was reading it. And I'm like, nice.
Yeah.
Because they found it very applicable, very, very easy to understand. So how we invited Kelly to be one of our instructors for Nanny Guard. We have been teaching situational awareness, has been a part of our Nanny Guard classes since the beginning. But when we had the chance to get to know her work, and because I want to give other women out there the chances that I wasn't given at my beginning. So we said, how about we invite subject matter experts, because Kelly now is a subject matter expert in situational awareness, and have her teach that specific topic in our classes. So that's how our relationship started.
Okay, well that was a great way to start the relationship. And Ron is asking me something, so I'm going to put you both on pause. What is it, Ron?
Could we use their podcast on the station?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Oh, can we use your podcast on the station? You have podcasts? Are they available to? We can talk about that. We'll talk about that off air. Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Kelly has a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah,
I did. I don't right now currently, but I did. But you're all really good.
Keep us posted on that, but we can kind of flesh that out off the air. But as you ladies were talking, I was recalling, I was listening to the radio one day, and there was a military man being interviewed, and I can't remember his name, but he was talking about situational awareness. And I remember he painted this picture where he said, you know, when you're driving in a car and you're in a lane, usually the other car in the lane next to you is never 100% right next to you. Of course, unless it's like traffic, bumper to bumper traffic. They're either a little in front of you or a little behind you. Same thing when you're walking down a crowded city street. Nobody usually walks right in pace with you. They either kind of eventually pass you or you pass them. And he said, when you see something like that happening, that's a cue. So both of you, either one of you can chime in. What are some of, like, I'm going to say the top 5 aha cues that you would teach a nanny or any woman or any man even about where you are and like the subliminal vibe you're getting that you don't realize you're getting, but then after they take your course, they do know it. Does that make sense?
Kelly, it's your stage.
Oh, you're going to make me answer first? Really, I always start with get curious. Our intuition is born with us, and based on our life experiences, it's honed and gets in tune depending on culture, depending on how we were raised, because again, personal bubble space is personal. So like I'm a hugger. I'll hug everybody. Not everyone's a hugger. So for me to sit here and say, pay attention to these cues could be completely opposite of what their intuition is telling them is off behavior. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's anytime your intuition is communicating with you or something's like, that seems off or that's interesting, whether someone's, it's called target glancing, especially in a nanny perspective. If someone's watching the kids too intently that you're with, let's say you're at a park, you're sitting on a bench or you're kind of standing back because they're at an age where they can run around with a little bit more freedom as long as you can see them. But all of a sudden you notice somebody standing off to the side and they're really watching the kids that you're in charge of. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's an odd behavior, mm-hmm. And then you can start looking, okay, is this another adult? Are they here? And maybe those kids are playing with my kids.
Right.
And so that's why they're watching. Or is it, an individual who doesn't seem to be with anyone else, doesn't seem to have any children around them or associated to them. That's red flag.
Yeah.
Why are they there? They do not belong in that environment. That's odd behavior.
Right.
Pay more attention to that. So it's really going, and this again gets into some of those tactical terms, but what's that baseline? Mm-hmm. What do I normally expect to see in this environment? Whether that's a coffee shop, a rock concert, a playground, a mall situation. Because mm-hmm. once you say, okay, this is what I would normally expect to see at the mall at 10 o'clock on a weekday, 10 a.m. on a weekday.
Yeah.
Okay. So if something is like, wow, that's really odd, I wouldn't normally expect to see that, or an anomaly. That's what you get more curious about. And when I say curious, it's because I don't believe situational awareness should be about paranoia. It should mm-hmm. be about curiosity, because when you start to get paranoid and you start to be stressed, we can get tunnel vision. We can stop paying attention because our brain starts going through all these scenarios. And what we really need to do is be calm, be present, and be able to take action quickly, because we don't want to freeze or get into, a situation where our brain kind of short circuits and we don't know what to do. Whereas if we're just constantly curious, scanning our environment for anything that seems off, that's more to pay attention to. And I got to tell you, and then Denny, you can jump in, but I've found, and I like to remind people, I travel a lot. So I find myself sitting in airport gates a lot. And versus getting on my phone or even reading a book, I'll just sit around and people watch.
Yeah.
And so not necessarily looking for threats, but yeah, I can tell you how many acts of kindness I've observed, kids being just kind of cute and entertaining. I once found a ring that was in the carpet that ended up being some great family heirloom that this woman was like devastated. She thought she had lost. And so it's one of those things where situational awareness isn't just about personal safety. It's really about being present in the world around you and can actually improve your life.
Yeah, no, I do love to people watch as well. And it's funny you talked about like situations at the park or at the mall that are off. And then you also talked about like, well, each person is bringing their own history and their own cultural perspective. And I'm in Richmond, Virginia, as you know, but when I was raised in New Jersey, and when we did come here and we had our first child here and we were in the mall just walking with her on in the stroller. I do remember some lady coming up. Now this is in Richmond, and really getting into my personal bubble space and like touching, I guess, my daughter's hand or something. And I'm like, red flag, red flag, because I'm from New Jersey. You don't invade people's spaces like that unless you're invited in. And then I realized as I stayed here and my life became here.
You
That
acclimated.
I acclimated, and I said, well, that's just a cultural I mean, that's fine. It's very touchy feely and warm and friendly, even though it's a stranger, and that's okay. But I do remember that first moment where they were in my own and my child's bubble space, and I didn't like it. I was like, there's something wrong, but it was actually fine. But Denida Grow, what Kelly has said about like the park situation, for instance, and a nanny is observing a person, whether it's a man or a woman, I guess, who just doesn't seem to fit in. And you were saying, Kelly, to be curious. At what point does your curiosity and assessment of the situation then determine I'm removing myself and my children from this situation?
Can you please repeat? Because I have to answer from my phone and mute the laptop at the same time.
Oh, okay. No problem. Sure. So Kelly was saying that, being curious is the first part of the, assessment process. And so if you're a nanny and you're at the park and you're finding yourself curious about a person who doesn't seem to belong there and is, observing your children, your charges, very seriously, at what point do you stop being curious and say to yourself, I'm removing us all from this situation? Like, what are the cues for that?
Well, the suggestion I would do and say to the nannies or anyone would be, from the moment you realize there's something that makes you feeling uncomfortable, remove yourself as soon as possible. Create a distance between you and that situation, that place, or that person. We had a nanny that she was one of our graduates, and she go to us an example that she was at the playground. There was someone that looked like homeless with a lot of mental disorders and was creating an issue. So I said, what did you do? She said, I called the police, and I was waiting for the police to come so I could give a testimony. Sorry. Yep. So I said, well, the first thing you should have done is pick up the kid and run. And while you're running, call the police if you can call the police. But you have to remove yourself from that place. You can't stay there. The police is going to deal with it. So your testimony can be done. You can go to the police station later on. You can follow up with a phone call or anything else. But you are responsible for that child's safety, and you have to remove yourself.
Right.
Something that I would like to highlight, if we have the time with the audience, is that technology and cell phones are a blessing, but at the same time, they are a curse. And we spend so much time, even when we are outside in public, walking, restaurants, or anywhere else, we spend so much time with our eyes glued to our phones that we are missing a lot of valuable information from the environment. Mm-hmm. You can't assess a situation if you are not able to observe it. And that's a huge problem we're having.
Mm-hmm. I
if
agree.
You're going out or walking or running, it's okay if you don't listen to the music at that moment. Don't listen to the music when you are home safe.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. A lot of times I'll see, kids walking home from school and they're just, on their phones as they're walking. And quite frankly, you could trip that way. I mean, let alone, there are prowlers or anything else. Usually it's a safe environment, but you could trip, or you could not be attentive to the traffic patterns and, get hurt. But no, I agree with you there. It is a distraction. And so you're not fully engaged with what's truly in the environment that you're in at the moment, if you're, looking at a cell phone ongoing. But Kelly Sayre and Denida Grow, we're going to have to wrap this up in a minute here. But Kelly, when you are an instructor and a speaker, what inspires you with the feedback and the from the students and whoever has hired you, whether it's Denida or another entity? Like what gratification do you get from that?
Great question. And to give perspective, next week I'm teaching a college course, so it's college age women. And then I work with corporations. So really the age range of women is very large, and there's men. A lot of times I'm like, well, can guys take your classes? Yes, you can. All of us can learn how to be more situationally aware and be more compassionate. When someone says, I'm not comfortable with this, or I'm feeling scared, then maybe there's a little bit of more understanding from a male perspective. I always like to joke, if I want to go for a run, I think about the time of day. I think about who knows where I'm going, what's my route, all my little safety things. What tool am I going to carry with me? And when, a guy wants to go for a run, he just has to put his shoes on most of the time. He's not thinking about those things.
Right.
But for me, it's seeing the faces in the crowd. I mean, if somebody gives me 2 hours to present, I will take up the entire 2 hours. And people, when they think about doing a 2-hour training where they're sitting and listening to an instructor the whole time, that's a dreadful thing to think about ahead of time. But most of the time afterwards, they're like, that went by really fast.
I was going to say,
I put in interaction. Yeah. I ask for audience participation in a fun way. I teach it in a fun way. Humans learn best through play and when we're enjoying what we're learning. And so afterwards, it's when the people, individuals, whether guys or gals, come up to me and say, oh my gosh, this is common sense. I've just never heard it explained this way. I can't wait to go home and tell my partner, tell my sister, tell my wife, tell my, cousins, everybody. And they suddenly are excited. Yeah. And it doesn't seem so scary. Yeah. And one thing that the college course that they give me one class in the course that I get to teach situational awareness, and they have to do teach backs at the end of class. So something that they learn throughout the course, they have to do a teach back and teach, and kind of dig deeper. And the instructors, like 95% of the time, they do something on situational awareness because they geek out about it and they get kind of excited and it seems really interesting. So to me, we don't know what we don't know. So even giving somebody, especially women, to say, you have other options to avoid. And you can use this every day. You don't have to spend years studying something. You can start learning how to be more aware of your surroundings right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, ladies, unfortunately, our time is up. Let our audiences know how to contact you, Denida Grow. How can they get in touch?
Well, they can reach out to me through LinkedIn. You can find me as Denida Grow on LinkedIn. A lot of people find me there. I also share a lot of articles related to security on my profile. They can also reach out to me through our website at nannyguard.com. And also Nanny Guard, I'm going to say it here. Lisa, I will apologize. Nanny Guard run a 2 days educational webinars every year, and we support St. Jude. So Bodyguards for Kids, good. If you go and Google Bodyguards for Kids, good. It happens every year. We have guest speakers. They donate their time to teach about security. And for someone to attend it, they just go and make a donation to Bodyguards for Kids on St. Jude's website.
That's
wonderful. I wanted to say it because it's for a great cause.
Absolutely. Yes, I support St. Jude's as well. And then Kelly? How
Sure.
can they get in touch with you?
Yep. Similar to Denida, you can find me, Kelly Sayre, on LinkedIn, and my company, the Diamond Arrow Group, is on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Threads. You can find me in any of those places. My website is thediamondarrowgroup.com. Really, if you Google that, you will come up with many different ways to connect and communicate. And I highly recommend finding what works best for you to connect and reach out. And the Sharp Women book is available on Amazon. So you can see both Denida and I in one place there.
That's right. That's right. Well, ladies, excuse me. Thank you so much for taking the time, Denida, a second time for you.
Yes.
And Kelly Sayre for coming on Richmond Business Babes. We're so happy to have you. All the best to you both. And
All
thank
right.
you for what you do.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right. Well, that wraps up Richmond Business Babes. Our show today was Safety First, Women Who Protect Other Women. And our guests were Kelly Sayre, founder and president of the Diamond Arrow Group, author of Sharp Women, and expert on situational awareness. And then Denida Grow, who is founder and owner of Nanny Guard and co-owner with her husband of Le Marchal Security Consulting and Advisors. So we thank them both for coming on today.
Great.
And yes, and thank you, the remarkable Ron. And you can catch up with the podcast on richmondbusinessbabes.com. I am your host, Lisa Linnell. I do thank you for listening. And now you go get them.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. Wave goodbye to your radio audience, and we'll move on to the loop. Thank you for listening, folks. It's been a lot of fun. Great show. Very, very timely.